Hi, and welcome to the webinar for the MSc International Banking and Finance, Financial Technology and Accounting, Finance and Regulation. We're just waiting on the presenter joining us, and they should be with us very soon. They've just been presenting at another webinar prior to this, so we will just hold on for a few seconds and hopefully they will join us very shortly.
Hello there. Terribly sorry.
Hi, Mauricio. Yeah, I was just saying the webinar has just started, so I'll just get straight in and do introductions and give you the most of the time that you've got available. I know you've come straight from another webinar, so yeah.
It's okay. Recovering my breath.
Yeah, I'll give you a chance to do that. So good afternoon from sunny Glasgow, or good morning or good evening, depending on where you are joining us from across the globe. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Pauline Truscott-Hughes from the Directorate of Future Students at Glasgow Caledonian University, and I'm hosting your webinar today. In the session today, as advertised, we'll present to you about 3 of our MSc programmes offered by the Department of Finance, Accounting and Risk at GCU. That's the MSc International Banking and Finance, the MSc Financial Technology, and the MSc Accounting, Finance and Regulation. Just before we begin, a couple of quick housekeeping notes. All your microphones and cameras are disabled during the session, just to ensure a smooth experience for everyone. And if you have any questions at any point, feel free to pop them into the chat box, which you will see at the right hand side of the screen. And if there is any questions, we'll be answering as many as we can at the end of the presentation. Just to let you know that today's session is being recorded, and it will be available on the GCU YouTube page within the next week, where you'll be able to watch it back and share it with others. Now on to the good part. I'm pleased to introduce today's presenter, Dr. Mauricio Silva, Senior Lecturer and Programme Leader in the Department of Finance, Accounting and Risk. And I'll now hand over to Mauricio to start the presentation.
Thank you very, very much. And start that presentation over here. Right. Well, welcome. Is also greatly introduced, Dr. Mauricio Silva. Not only a program leader of the MSc ABA, I have been a program leader for 2 of these programs as well, the International Banking and Finance and the MSc in Financial Technology, where I teach as well various modules. So thank you very much for this, as this is clearly stated here. We are accredited by the Chartered Bankers Institute, the CISI, and the CII. So I'll try to squeeze in as much information as possible for each of these programs. I can talk forever about them, but the MSc International Banking and Finance is one of our flagship programs. Is a program where we have, it's triple accredited, meaning it has been with us and it is recognized by industry. It is important right now, international banking, although it may sound a little bit on the boring side, what we have here is a sector that is continuing in unprecedented growth. Some people may say that, it's relatively boring. It isn't. There's absolutely nothing boring about banking. Banking is one of the most exciting professions out there. I say it as an ex-banker, but also is a sector that has been changing faster than any point in living memory. Everything changed after 2008. The rise of ESG investment, digital disruption, ongoing regulatory transformation, all of these have created incredible opportunities and demand for professionals who can manage risk with quantitative precision, navigate complex regulatory environments, and lead both in technical rigor and ethical awareness. The UK financial services sector is one of the three largest in the world, alongside New York and Hong Kong, and it employs over 1.1 million people. It contributes 170 billion pounds to the economy annually. And in Scotland, financial services account for 13 billion pounds a year and 160,000 jobs. Remember, this is a country with a population of 5.2 million people, Scotland. We have a huge proportion of people who work in financial services. What the program looks like. So we have 8 core taught modules. The MSc International Banking and Finance is a specialist postgraduate degree, and it gives you depth, applying knowledge of how banks and financial institutions operate, not only from a theoretical side, but also the real world of international markets, regulatory environments, and commercial pressures. All of this sits within the GCU Finance, Accounting, and Risk Department, and it draws on the expertise of not only academics, but also many of us, before we became academics, were professionals in the field. This program is, it says here, you're going to have access to Bloomberg Suite and at-risk software, as well as upon graduation, you will be eligible for chartered membership. That is, you're a chartered banker at graduation. The curriculum is built about 6 areas that are currently in demand. We designed this program with the Chartered Bankers Institute with the accreditation in mind. So they did a thorough analysis and evaluation of our modules in order to determine how close we were to the standards that are required by the banking industry. And that's why CBI accreditation is so important for us. So bank operations and risk, so anything that has to do with bank risk management, also securities and portfolio analysis, very critical. Banking regulation is one of the most important parts in what we do at the moment. And because, believe it or not, banks tend to be more regulated than even the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry. It's incredible the amount of regulation that's thrown at banks. We have strategic bank management, also financial modeling and ethics and governance. All these are absolutely critical parts of what we do. Glasgow is a really, really key part of our offering. Glasgow is it's not only about mentioning, it's Glasgow, Caledonian. Glasgow is the United Kingdom's is the UK's largest financial center outside of London. JP Morgan has one of its largest European technology analytics hubs here, and it employs thousands in software engineering, risk analytics, and financial technology. Barclays also runs a major analytics operations center here in the city. Morgan Stanley operates back office, middle office functions in Glasgow. Bank of New York, Mellon is also here. And we also have other parts of the industry like Aberdeen Standard Life. And listen, Bank of Scotland was founded in 1695. We have one of the oldest banks in the UK operating here. We have at our core ethics. We've learned that banks have learned from the lessons of 2008. And we try to have that everyone, and want to make sure that everyone has a very good foundation in terms of their ethical understanding. Our professional tools are really important part. So you will be using the Bloomberg Suite. We're one of a few universities in Scotland and the UK with the Bloomberg Suite. We use at-risk from Palisade, which is an industry Monte Carlo simulation for risk analysis that is commonly used in industry as well. As I said before, we are accredited by the Chartered Bankers Institute, the CISI, which is the Chartered Institute for Securities and Investment, and the Chartered Insurance Institute. All these recognize our content. Where's the demand for this? Always risk management, which is the most demand specialism. So if you take your career, your banking career, towards risk management, you will be very well served. As well as regulatory compliance is incredibly important. Sustainable finance and ESG is a growing part of what we're doing now in terms of mandatory climate disclosures and things of that nature. And of course, international banking. One thing that I always like to say about banking is that it is global for a reason. And financial employment and salary data, look, banking has everything. Banking, you can start from, the credit analysis and operations and grow to portfolio management quite easily. They're not easy to get to. Many of these jobs, they're very, very competitive. But you have to remember that it is a global market. What you learn here is applicable in Buenos Aires or Hong Kong or Johannesburg, is applicable everywhere. So in terms of financial services, it is a very good career. You can get into risk analysis, credit analysis, you can get into investment analysis, and the global destinations are your pick, wherever you want to go. The entry requirements, although we have a standard entry, we like to have students with some background in terms of finance, accounting, economics, math, statistics. That kind of exposure is always very good. So it is a fantastic program. It's a wonderful program, highly recommended. The other offer that we have is our MSc in Financial Technology. Obviously, this is a narrower focus. And by that, I mean, FinTech is a program that we developed a few years ago, and it is transformational in terms of what we do. It's also accredited by Chartered Banker. We are associated as well to the Data Lab and, of course, the Bloomberg suite. FinTech has changed the financial industry completely. In 2023, we're talking about 113 billion in global investment. This is accelerating transformation in banking. The way you do banking today and 3 years ago is quite different. And you see it's in small changes, but the speed and the volume at which transactions move around is absolutely incredible. This is not only about coding. This is about understanding where the banking system is going. What we have is investments that exceed just in things like RegTech, regulatory technology, more than 50 billion globally by 2028. And the Bank of England is actually developing its digital pound, which is what we are understanding. The implications of this is something that we're trying to do. The UK attracts more fintech investment than any other European company. That's what informs us. That's what's informing our knowledge that we try to impart, our technical skills that we try to impart on you. Right. What do we do with this program? The MSc in FinTech is interdisciplinary and intersects finance and computer science. It's 180 credits, and it has the highest, it builds upon finance, analytics, and programming skills. We built 4 pillars of financial technologies expertise: bank risk management and financial regulation, which is absolutely core, so the foundation. FinTech, we do fundamentals of financial technology, data analysis, cybersecurity, payments, all these things. Data science and AI, so we do data programming in Python, AI in business analytics, data visualization, financial risk modeling, And of course, data governance. We have data ethics, which covers GDPR, EU, and algorithmic ethics, which is really, really core and important to what we do right now. The fintech ecosystem in Scotland is very important. We've got, as I said before, JP Morgan, Barclays, Morgan Stanley, Bank of New York, and we have Fintech Scotland. It is one of the biggest advantages that this program has, that through the data lab, we connect Fintech Scotland. Fintech Scotland is in what you call the Central Belt. It's a geographical region which has 200 plus fintech companies that are a global center of excellence. It is outside of London. Glasgow is the #1 financial center. It is absolutely essential. So what are employers looking for? It's someone who can actually translate between data scientists, pure data scientists, and risk officers, or product officers, or product analysts. It's challenging models technically and from regulatory perspective. So what we have is, because of the interdisciplinary character, when a firm or bank needs a graduate to translate between their data science and risk teams or customer teams, we need someone who is capable of understanding what is happening on a technical side, someone who's technically sound, and someone who has genuine understanding of financial products. That's what FinTech does. It's a really, really good program in that sense. It creates the advantages of both sides of the coin. The algorithmic lending discrimination is all about understanding AI credit scoring, cryptocurrency, and environmental harm. Understanding what are the potentials for harm, which is really important because of cybersecurity, but also how we can redress those harms and how we can protect our customers from that. And these are capabilities that are in acute demand at the moment. Professional skills, firms are hiring for that professional data literacy, that understanding of AI in finance, that blockchain understanding, and that regulatory and ethical awareness. That's what employers are looking for at the moment. So you can see the UK is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, fintech investment in Europe by far. And it has, like everything else, supply deficit. What they're looking for is fintech developers, data engineers. This is more on the technical side. If you tend to focus on the computer science side, this is where you probably end up. The majority of individuals that have graduated from our program tend to gravitate towards compliance consultants, intelligence developers, digital transformation managers. So roles that are in between. And as I said before, the global destinations are far and wide. We talked about the entry requirements, or you must have seen what are the entry requirements. We like to see that you had some kind of exposure to computer science, software engineering, data science, things like that, and also some kind of financial background. But, we look at application by application. This is a program that is challenging, again, building you and future-proofing your career. As I said, no business is as large as the banking business, and this is something that you could actually use to better understand and have a better grasp of the fintech ecosystem. Which brings me to the last program, which is the finance and accounting, the accounting, finance, and risk program. The accounting, finance, and risk program is quite an interesting one. The accounting and finance profession is always changing, and it's always navigating periods of transformation. It just a few years, the UK's audit oversight regime has been fundamentally transformed. International sustainability standard boards have published first global sustainability disclosure standards. Financial Reporting Council is being replaced by a more powerful regulator. So there's always something happening in terms of regulation. And these are not incremental changes, they're structural shifts. And this is an ongoing process. The accounting and finance profession has been exposed to things like corporate failures. So it's really an interesting one, because all these corporate failures, all these events have changed the way we see the accounting profession. This program sits at a very interesting junction between several of our areas of expertise in accounting, finance, and risk. So we teach these three areas. So we have quite a substantial grasp of what's going on and how this is affecting the industry as a whole. So we have all these regulatory landscapes that are constantly changing. So the program is 180 credits, similar to the other ones. It's linked, like everything we do, to our different bodies like ACCA, ICAEW, CIMA, and the entry requirements are relatively general. This is very much at a top-up, at a generalist approach to what the topic is. Unlike the FinTech and the IBF, which are highly specialized, these tend to be more on the generalist side and gives you a very good understanding of what the industry as a whole, accounting, finance, and risk. So you have modules like international financial management, international financial reporting, so strategic financial management, financial risk modeling, financial services regulation, all these things that are constantly at the forefront of the financial services and what the financial services industry is doing. Stop this. So again, with financial services, we have huge contribution overall to the UK economy. And again, there's a lot of demand in technical financial reporting. Like I mentioned before, financial risk management, things like regulatory compliance and sustainability and ESG reporting, especially on the reporting side, especially understanding what those reports are saying and how to improve those reports. Usually we have graduates that end up in Grant Thornton, Morgan Stanley, Charles Stanley. Again, there's very few things that we don't cover. So what kind of careers? No, you have a professional practice, of course, in terms of audit associates, senior managers. You can actually go into technical accounting manager, forensic accounting. Remember, though, this is a postgraduate degree. For those of you who are accountants, ACCAs, this is a very good idea, a very good program to get an overall general idea of the industry. But it doesn't give you the specialization. These specializations, as you know, within the accounting profession, are by examination from the different bodies. Again, ethics is a core element of what we do. This is one of our areas of specialization at this university. That's why we're the University for the Common Good. And Glasgow, I'm hammering Glasgow down because it is one of the best places there is to do your degree, especially in accounting, finance, and mainly banking, financial technologies. We have major institutions, professional services, all the major firms are over here. Why are we different? Well, we build our curriculums for today. Our closeness to industry allows us to build on employability. We have practitioners in form teaching. Our accounting department is full of practitioners. all very, very good with direct experience in financial reporting, public sector accounting, public sector finance and regulation. The financial ecosystem is probably one of the best you can find. And we have ethics at its core, and we have very good graduate outcomes. We have alumni at Grant Thornton, BDO, Morgan Stanley, and so on and so forth. So if you're ready to take your next step, please let us know. Of course, you will get more information from Pauline and all our staff that we want to help you. If you have any questions, by all means, here to answer them. Thank you. Thanks, Pauline.
Hi, thank you for that, Mauricio. That was really interesting. Just for anybody who's on the webinar, if you do have any questions, feel free to ask. I've put a little link in the chat for future webinars that are running throughout this week as well. We're running a series of webinars throughout the week, all associated with postgraduate studies. So you're more than welcome. You should have had invitation to join them. I don't see any questions, Mauricio, but maybe just wait a minute or so. If we don't, if you don't have questions today, you know, you can always email us, inquiries@gcu.ac.uk. Our inquiries team there will pick up any of your inquiries and respond to them. And if there's anything that they can't respond to, that they will share with our academic staff, like Mauricio, who can provide their expert answers. Okay, if we've got no questions, then that will bring us to the end of our session today. Thank you again, Dr. Silva, for your time and your expertise. Thanks to everyone else for attending. We hope you found the session useful, and we look forward to welcoming you in the future to any other sessions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.